never been happy as a Chelsea fan. This happy at least.
I'm glad somebody.
It was such. I'm wearing red.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's why I think,
You know why, for sure. I'm sure you know why.
Hello and welcome to this Sportscast. Running a few minutes late, so apologies for that, but it's really good to be back and talking about football. And as ever, there's lots to talk about. What we hope to do today is talk about what's been happening. Incredible EPL day yesterday, but the past couple of weeks. I'm going to get some insight into the way the football is going in India in terms of the fans following in of EPL clubs, European clubs, and whether that's changing because of the ISL. And then we're going to have some ISL talk and start previewing the up-and-coming season, which is going to be very unique as well. But as ever, there's only one person, and that's my friend and co-host, Nevin. Welcome to the show. How are you today, mate?
Good, I'm good. Happy to be here. And I'm sorry for delaying the video a little. Just a little bit of urgent work came in between. But happy to be here, to be discussing football, and happy to be discussing some other teams apart from Chelsea, because we've got other things.
I'm sure we'll be talking about Chelsea as well, but what a weekend as well. And how's your weekend? We're doing this show for a change, and I think for the first time on a Monday, so we can cover the whole weekend. And sorry about yesterday, it was down to me and where we didn't live stream. But how's your week been? It's been a couple of weeks since we spoke.
Yeah, it's a little strange here because the coronavirus situation is getting bad in Kerala. So we have the Section 144 imposed again, and the curfews are back. At least not at the levels not similar to May, March, April, but the curfews are back. So that's taken the sheen off a little, but it's in some ways nice that they are putting some restrictions because we need to keep this, under check. Apart from that, football-wise, what an exciting weekend with a lot of goals once again, a lot of drama off the pitch as well. New signings coming in, deadline day is fast approaching, and so it's been a very interesting weekend as a football fan, as a football journalist.
Yeah, I was still living on a high after my boys did a number on Man City last week, and all of last week I couldn't stop smiling, and it was an incredible result. And yesterday's, results were, what can you say about what happened yesterday? It started, the day started really badly for me. In terms of we were absolutely battered by West Ham. I wasn't expecting that at all. I know West Ham were on the back of a very good win themselves, but the way we'd been scoring goals for fun and the way we played against Man City, that's a result I was not expecting. I don't know if you caught any of that game.
Oh, I caught all the games yesterday, so it was a fun day for me as a neutral in these matches to watch. Engrossing games, and we've discussed this earlier as well about how Premier League is the most toughest football competition out there. And we were expecting West Ham to be relegated at the start of the season, and suddenly they're looking like a top team, well organized, can't stop scoring also. You've got Michael Antonio, perhaps looking better than Harry Kane himself. So it's been a very fascinating week. And if I may, I know it's going to hurt you, is pretty much what Leicester did to City. So this is what West Ham came and did to Leicester, what Leicester did to Manchester City. So this is some weird karma happening where everything sort of balances out in Premier League. And guess what? Everton is leading the table. Who would have thought about that? I mean, despite their good signings, we never expected them to be such a dominant force in the Premier League. So exciting times. And the next big Premier League match is a Merseyside derby as well. So very exciting times.
Yeah, Brendan was asked about whether he thought that West Ham came and did a job on us like we did with Man City, and it's something as a Leicester fan we've been saying for a while that when teams come and defend really well, I'm not saying they're playing defensively, they're playing counter-attack football, which is, suits them, but we just didn't have the guile to break them down. We didn't have any ideas. It didn't help that Maddison wasn't playing. He had a calf injury. Earlier on, we'd started loads of rumours, but I think it was too early for Cengiz Under to make an impact on his first game, coming on when we were losing 2-0. But it's been a constant theme that when teams come here, not to play, not to attack, we struggle to break them down, and it's something that we still haven't managed to do. And yesterday, I was not surprised, but really disappointed that we've still not found a method to do that. But in Brendan, I trust, and hopefully, I think we've had a good transfer window. I'm not sure if we're going to get anybody today. There's been talk of a midfielder from France, and I know I think we need a striker, but Iniacho, I think, can do a reasonable job, because there's nobody going to take the place of Vardy. But our issue is if Vardy gets injured, then we've got major problems. But moving on to...
it's interesting. No, it's interesting that you highlighted Maddison, because I thought he was perhaps the key to unlock West Ham, because you need somebody to have a pop from outside the box when teams defend this deep. You want somebody who can pack a punch and shoot from outside. And I thought I think Maddison has that skill set in him. So having a good central midfielder who can, somebody who doesn't want to just play these 1-2s and try to get into the box, because it was so crowded. Like the entire, around 20 men were inside the penalty box. So that's definitely not going to be easy to crack unless you hit from outside. And I was a little disappointed that Leicester weren't shooting a lot. But then again, how many days do you see Vardy missing one-on-ones or an unlucky offside going this way or that way? So, I mean, there's still a lot for Leicester. So I think it's too early to be sad. I think it's good to trust Brendan. He's a good manager.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think looking back, I think we've had a good first 4 games. I would have taken the points total. I think it's just the manner of the defeat yesterday. And I totally agree. Maddison would have made a difference because the others were trying to walk it in. I think Cengiz, once he gets a few games, will make a difference. I've heard really good things about him in terms of being a playmaker and willing to do something special. I'm not saying he's anywhere near what Mahrez used to do for us, but if he can do 25-30% of what Mahrez used to do, I think we'll be okay, because we need that special player. Doesn't every team who can open up tight defences, and with Maddison as well. I think the break for us has come at the right time, because we've got a few injuries. Hopefully Maddison will come back fit. I know indeed he's a long way off, but Mendy's doing an incredible job. And I like your tweet about there could be a starting 11 of just Mendy's. I think it's definitely possible, and I think somebody, I don't know if I saw it somewhere, but somebody has done that, and we have got a starting 11 of Mendy's in the Premier League. But before we turn to,
I can think of 2 left back itself.
Yeah.
In Mendy.
Yeah.
But and City have to.
Yeah, but I think somebody did put down an 11, and I'll try and find it and retweet it. But
yeah, I think Mendy versus Dembele is a very likely football match. I think a lot of Dembele is out there.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But before we talk about the games that changed my mood yesterday, what about your boys? Because there's been a lot of talk already about Frank and all the huge signings. With huge signings comes a lot of pressure, and the result against was it West Brom? I think you're lucky to come away with a point. It was a great comeback, but not something you would have expected from a Chelsea point of view. But then they turned it on yesterday against no, on Saturday against Crystal Palace, which is not an easy team to beat. I mean, like all teams that play the top six, they feel the defence. But what's your view on Chelsea and the start they've had before the break?
I'm not happy, but I can't complain because Chelsea have got enough points to be satisfied, I think, considering the marginal or next to no preseason that they've had and the kind of players that they've brought in. It's always going to be difficult for a manager to get the balance right. I am not really a big fan of how Werner is being used. He is being used as an out and out winger. I mean, he can play as a wide forward perhaps, but he should be running onto balls and not having balls played to his legs. Havertz is also a little lost. I think we've seen him in multiple positions. One day we saw him on the right wing, one day we saw him as a secondary striker, then as a number 10. But I think against Crystal Palace, in a 4-2-3-1 formation, they got some sort of balance right. And that enabled Jorginho also to play because Kante wasn't bombing forward. Both of them were sitting back and gave Chelsea that extra defensive help that they required. So the moment a Ben Chilwell or Aspilicueta pushed up, these defensive midfielders were willing to occupy their position. So Chelsea held their shape pretty well in that match, and that's a big outcome for me. So at least we are moving in the right direction. Obviously, having Thiago Silva and Mendy and Ben Chilwell playing is a huge advantage because I think Chelsea have been playing without a left back for ages now. A wing back perhaps in Alonso, but like whenever Chelsea played with the four-man defense, it was always a nightmare because both Emerson and Alonso are not out and out left back. So Ben Chilwell had a very good game.
Yeah, what a debut.
I'm very happy. Yeah, very positive game. Like I was surprised. I wasn't expecting him to play this well. But perhaps this is also Crystal Palace and he got enough space to make those runs. I don't know whether he'll be able to play like that against a Liverpool or a tougher opposition. Again, don't know what to say about Liverpool, but let's not go there. But yeah, I'm happy. The general trend seems to be upwards for Chelsea. But again, Lampard needs to really unlock Werner and Havertz. And hopefully that can be done with Pulisic and CH back in the reckoning. So again, a good welcome break for Chelsea. Hopefully these two will be back fit by the time the Premier League resumes.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Ben had an incredible first game. A couple of things in terms of Chelsea. Were you one of those that wanted Kepa replaced? And also, I was a little bit surprised with the loan signing of I forget the guy's name that went to Villa. He was loaned out to Villa.
Ross
Barkley, and obviously he scored yesterday. But I was a little bit surprised by that. And what were your views on Kepa as well? One of the most expensive goalkeeper signings.
With Kepa, I agree with the decision because there's no point just sticking to this tag that we've spent so much money, so we have to just play him. Because he's a keeper who's lost all the confidence and clearly costing Chelsea a lot of points. You saw a difference a keeper made for Liverpool, right? Suddenly Alisson is out and Adrian is in, and there's a world of difference from they're suddenly looking like a mid-table side as compared to the Liverpool that we know. So I don't know how good Mendy is, but considering the last few performances in which he's played, at least he seems better than Kepa. And with Thiago Silva coming in and organizing that defense, Ben Chilwell offering a lot more of athleticism on the left, I think Chelsea are moving in the right direction when it comes to defense. Again, with Barkley, I agree. I'm also a little surprised that they, gave him out because I think you can have Mount or Havertz not really performing, and then Barkley would have been that Premier League proven depth that you needed in the midfield. And with Ruben Loftus-Cheek also likely to leave, I can only think of Chelsea wanting to create space for somebody like a Declan Rice. I don't know any other reason why they would want to offload Barkley also. but good for him. Maybe Barkley also came out and said, listen, I am at a point in my career where I'm not willing to sit out like say 20, 30 matches a season and just wait for my opportunities. I want to go where I'm appreciated and get a lot of game time. And if he continues playing like that and, forming a good partnership with Grealish, he might actually be in the England team. So good for Barkley.
Yeah, I think he will be in the England squad moving forward. It's just very surprising. I didn't even hear rumours of that deal going ahead. I know it's a loan signing, but I think Villa have done a brilliant job getting him. I don't know how, but and the fact that he's willing to go to a club like Villa, I think shows that he's more about playing time than just sitting on the bench taking the money at a big club. So fair play to Ross Barkley. Coming to the games yesterday, and we've got to start off with United. I mean, there were problems at United. We know that. I think the project restart and the games they played papered over some of the cracks that they had, and the talk has been about the defence, and it got shown up against Brighton. I thought they were very lucky to get away with that. I think fair play to Ole. He admitted it, that they were lucky to get the points. But how's your brother feeling today?
I haven't spoken to him after the match. I thought I'll be kind enough to, give him some time to recover from that very humiliating defeat to Tottenham. But again, one might argue that the red card incident was a little harsh in terms of it was sort of a tit for tat. Probably give yellow to both or give red to both.
Oh, it should be red
again,
both.
Yeah, and you should also understand these are professional footballers, so they know what gives them a red card and what does not. So, I mean, I might not sound like a purist here, but like if I were Ole or if I were any Premier League manager, I would ask Martial, why didn't you fall down and cry or get the other guy a red card? That's the most sensible thing to do. You've been just create a fuss over it. I mean, I'm sure Mourinho would have said that too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I know it sucks, and I know it's against the, the spirit of the game or whatever. But like in the spirit of the game, if you slap him back, you're the one getting the red card. So, I think there started the problem for United. But I mean, we keep asking about Harry Maguire, about Lindelof, about Bailey, about De Gea, but I thought United midfield was completely out of the game yesterday. Tottenham came with strength and power and desire, and the likes of Pogba had really no answer. He just kept strolling around the park, and that meant pressure. And the likes of Son, who very direct, and they don't miss a lot of chances, do they, Tottenham? If they get 6 chances, they're scoring 4 because they're very clinical. And imagine there's another Gareth Bale waiting who can also come into this side. So it's a little intimidating to think what this Tottenham team can do. But that said, I think I'm very disappointed with United. I mean, we can talk about the lack of transfer activities. It's not really a lack of transfer activities. They've spent millions. They also got Van de Beek. Why isn't Ole risking him now? Now, he is a player who's versatile and willing to run. He should have been in that match. The moment that red card happened, you should have brought that, a player who's all about desire and would have at least, put his body on the line and defended. So it's also down to, I personally feel the manager not really being good enough. I think he's got one good strategy of counter-attacking at great pace, which really helped him in the, after the restart. But now I think a lot of managers have figured out how to play against United in that particular formation. So they aren't like attacking United. They are also sitting back and suddenly they don't have a plan B somewhere. So difficult times. I think I've already heard that they're signing Cavani, good experienced striker. That there is Telles, who's apparently joining as a left back. So you can't really complain about the lack of signings. That's a defender, that's a midfielder, and a striker in a summer, which for a normal club would be okay. A club that finished third in the table, but I'm sure United fans are not going to be happy about it because they're very likely to miss out on Sancho. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little disappointed with how United have been organized in the last few matches, and very clear lack of ambition and desire. I think Bruno is the only one who you can like look at him and think that he wants to do something on the pitch. Nobody else seemed to be like really bothered about what's happening on the pitch.
Yeah, a couple of points. I just want to pick up on yesterday's Lamella. That was so embarrassing. I know you see that in European football, but we don't see that in English football often. When it does, it gets highlighted, it gets shown up, and Lamella. That was a disgraceful what he did. It was just a touch, if that, a slight touch, and the way he went down, I think he should have got a red card just for that, the way he acted. It's not something we want to see in the Premier League. Like I said, you see it in Europe, but this isn't Europe. And he's been in the Premier League long enough not to know that. But I suppose some part of your Latin origins does stick with you for a long time. But I know they've been linked with Cavani, but I don't think. I mean, they used to talk about Arsenal, and Arsenal always never used to buy defenders, and everybody knew the issue was around the defence. And the same with United. I don't know why they've not been linked with a big money signing. I know they spent a fortune on Maguire, and he's having a poor season. He's still England captain. He's had some off-the-field issues that might be in the back of his mind. But I think the issues, like everybody says, and I agree with them, and it gets shown up, and it got shown up yesterday, was in defence. Luke Shaw, I thought, was lucky to stay on the pitch on that tackle on Moreno, was it? Near the end, I think that was a horrible tackle that could have ended up really badly. And yeah, a lot of people blame Ed Woodward and the chief executive down the signings, but I agree with you. The money's been spent, it's just not been spent well. And you've just got to think, does Ollie attract the big names? I mean, when you look at Ancelotti and the type of players he seems to attract, it's because of Ancelotti himself. That counts for a lot as a manager, your reputation and what you've done and your standing. And I think Ollie is struggling at the moment. I think if it was,
I don't know if it is as much about Ole struggling, because I think United is still a big brand that a lot of good players would want to come here for the project. I mean, I'm pretty sure Sancho was convinced about coming, and I'm sure a lot of other players would also like coming and being part of this club. But unfortunately, something is wrong. The management seems a little off. You know, I think was it Evra who said it? Like, if you have a car priced at 120 million, you can't keep asking if you'll get it for 100 million. You either buy a car that is available for 100 million, or you pay up the 120 million and get the car, or you just like move on. You know, the entire Sancho saga has gone on for the entire, forget summer. I think from Project Restart, I think we've been hearing this, rumor, and imagine we're on deadline day and really there's nothing happening. So I don't know if it's Woodward who is to be blamed. I don't know if it's Glazer who needs to be blamed. I don't know who's there, but like the club is clearly lacking sense of direction. And you're right. Why don't they go and say sign a Koulibaly or Gimenez? Just go make a big signing. Nobody's going to. I mean, opposition fans are going to be sad and will probably mock saying you bought the title or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you can buy a title, why not go buy a title? Just spend that money on a big centre back.
I mean, they often accuse your team and their neighbours of buying titles, but I think they've spent money in the past. They can't deny that. So I can't understand why they've not been linked to the defender. And you mentioned Tuta and Koulibaly, I think, has been mentioned a lot, and he's linked with Man City as well at the start, but that's not happened. A few problems for Man United. Also, one of the good things about the Premier League, and I think you mentioned it at the start, is how competitive it is. Anybody can beat anybody, but what I didn't see is Liverpool losing 7-2 to Aston Villa of all teams. I know Villa have strengthened, they've started well, but nobody saw that coming. And Klopp didn't have a clue even at half time when they were already 4-1 down. So you're playing, you need miracles to come back from that sort of scoreline. But what did you make of that performance from Liverpool? I mean, I know they didn't have Mane and, like you say, Alisson, but they're not a two-man team, surely.
Yeah, I think Liverpool fans have been crying out for squad depth. They got really lucky in the last 2 seasons with very, very less number of injuries, and they've always, almost always maintained that core. Now you see a few errors from the likes of Virgil van Dijk, which is uncanny. And now suddenly you have no Mane, no Allison, and this team looks very beatable, right? So uh, they've gone out and signed Thiago, they signed Jota, they have Minamino. So it's not like they haven't invested in replacement, probably not had time. Because Klopp always stuck to that front three and he rarely changed it. So, uh, I mean, you can probably blame Klopp, but then he was trying to win a title and he wanted to play the best three he had in terms of front three. And yeah, I always thought, I know a lot of people who took the Watford game from last year as the example of sitting back and countering against Liverpool. But I always thought attacking them was the only way because their fullbacks, if they're allowed to dictate the game, they will take it away from you. If you allow Robertson and Trent Arnold to play in the opposition half, they will win that game for Liverpool. So the only way is to keep them pinned towards their defense. And defensively, I think both are vulnerable. So you can nick a ball out of them. You can perhaps outpace them, bully them, whatever. So I think now more and more teams are aware of it because the sitting back policy is clearly not working out for them because the likes of Salah, Mane, they're all too brilliant that even if you pack, they will find a way to score a goal. So now I think a lot more teams, I think Bielsa opened it up with the first match saying, hello, why don't we take the attack to Liverpool? And now, Aston Villa pressed really well, I think, especially towards the middle portion of the pitch. I think they pressed really well and really troubled uh, Liverpool. So I think this is a good strategy. I hope more teams take it though. I hope more teams are willing to risk it. And I'm afraid that more top teams won't be. I think it's the mid-table teams and the lower teams that will be, willing to take this risk. I think top teams will sit back. I don't know, against Chelsea, for example, they just sat back despite the plethora of talent in their ranks. And finally, just some one or two key passes, Chelsea got a red card, the game is over. So hopefully we will see teams attacking Liverpool.
Yeah, it's really strange because you think there was an aura of invincibility with the top teams and Liverpool being the top team at the moment, where some clubs already have lost in their mind before they get onto the pitch. But I think, like you said, Bielsa started it, but also the way Brendan played against Man City, Villa against Liverpool, and they seem to have found a way of, because they play similar ways of a high back line, attacking wing backs, and the managers seem to, well, that's what they're there for, but they seem to, and you need the players to implement a plan to counter that. But it just goes to show that, the likes with Everton, Wolves, I think will still be a force, but with my own Leicester City, then you've got the likes of Villa, I think might surprise a few people. It's not going to be a walk in the park as it was last year for the top two.
And I like yesterday night, I was reminded of this weird cycle of things. I remember Roy Keane laughing about Aston Villa surviving relegation and partying, and Roy Keane saying, "Oh, why are they, partying like they won the league?" And then I remember last week, Klopp getting pissed about something Roy Keane said about, and then finally you have the next week, Klopp being humbled by this Aston Villa side. I was just like correlating, and we've discussed this before as well. Football is a great leveler. You need to always be humble and respect the game. Yeah, and I thought it was in some way a poetic justice to everything that has happened, and Villa coming to sort of come save Roy Keane's grace in some way. So I thought the entire triangle of things or the circle of things was quite interesting.
Well, it's funny you should say that because we obviously have Sky Sports here, and on their programme yesterday they had Graham Souness covering both the United games and the Liverpool game from the studio, and he was smiling and you could see his face at the United score, and somebody put a meme up afterwards. Well, this morning actually, of his face during the Liverpool game as well. So he was. That was in one afternoon. Described exactly what you were saying about don't be overly happy at other people's demise or embarrassment, because it can happen to you very quickly and happen to Graham Souness in the same afternoon. So there's a lesson for people. But also the other one, I don't know if you saw Patrick Evra's reaction after the United game. He was absolutely fuming. I've not seen a pundit react that way. I know he's a United fan and what have you, but he made some very strong comments live on TV.
I mean, I really like him for that. I mean, I sometimes find TV and everything is too polished and not really reflecting how we talk in real life. And you have Evra, who comes in with all his aura and says what he wants. He said something controversial before the United Crystal Palace match as well. So he's bringing a lot of fun to punditry.
Yeah, he's a bit like Roy Keane. I love Roy Keane. And to be fair, I like Gary Neville as well. I think he speaks his mind. And I've liked him more as a pundit than I did him as a player. But it was good to see Patrick showing his passion and feeling as a United fan. But moving on, also in terms of India, and I know when Liverpool do well, Twitter is flooded with all the Liverpool fans in India, rejoicing quite rightly, I suppose. They've had 30 years of drought when it comes to the Premier League. Was it quiet on all fronts, or was it? I didn't catch up with Twitter a lot yesterday in terms of
oh my God,
fans of rival teams.
This was the most fun I've had in ages. I for once I was sitting back and just enjoying what other people were saying on social media, on WhatsApp groups, because like you said about Souness, you had a bunch of trolls and everything coming out against United after the first match, and look at Ole trying to replicate Sir Alex, because he's had a 6-1 loss as well. So United has finally managed to find a successor. There were a lot of jokes happening, and then another 90 minutes and oh my God, United fans are all out and they're back wow, Liverpool's not going to let us walk alone. and then you have Barca fans saying, hello, you haven't reached Barca level yet of conceding 8, so we are still on top. It's just, I think everybody just had a lot of fun, because I think everybody just bonded over the misery. I think for once, all the fans were united, and I think as Chelsea fans, we were saying, we will never concede 7 because we do it in 3s. It's 3, so 9. So we were all just, I think it was a lot of fun. And I think, this is the beauty of football, right? The unpredictability and camaraderie. And so, we can be supporting different teams, but in that misery, I think we found a bond. So
it does bring rival fans together. Can I just mention to our viewers and also describe to our listeners that the fact that Nevin is wearing a red T-shirt is by no means a reflection of his feelings about yesterday's results and what happened to the 2 red teams yesterday. So it's just a coincidence, isn't that right, Nevin?
Absolutely not. I specifically chose red for a reason.
And you said, I think this is the why the Premier League is so popular compared to other European leagues. They might have the big names, of course the Premier League does, but in terms of anybody can beat anybody. I know the results yesterday were, at another level, but it just shows the competitiveness of the league and how many teams can beat the top teams. I think that's what makes it so good and so enjoyable to watch. And there's very few games you can quite confidently predict. But the other thing that happened last week was obviously the Champions League draw. Did that get much attention back home, and did people have views? Because a lot of United fans have been saying that they are in every tournament seems to have a group of death. But was there much conversations around the Champions League, or is it too early at the moment, and people will wait until the knockout stages?
No, there was a lot, especially the United PSG, and also Liverpool's also in a very interesting group with Ajax and Atlanta, and so I think there were a lot of conversations. But I think I've seen multiple people say this also. A lot of people think too much football is happening right now. There seems to be football every day. Like there is League Cup, there is
Don't they remember
some
3 months ago?
Yeah, I think they just like I saw a tweet yesterday saying I'm taking a few days off from football now. Can't wait for the. In fact, football fans are waiting for international break. Imagine that. Like we hated international breaks otherwise because it was just a break from the Premier League schedule. But like right now, it was just like maybe that's a weekend I can probably meet my friends and not watch every and and the whole scheduling this season is also that one match is after the other, right? So if you're a person who follows all football matches, that means like for us in India, it starts at like 4 in the evening and goes to like 1 in the night. So absolutely no social life possible if you're going to watch all the matches. So we are now actually looking forward to couple of days, couple of weekends without football matches so that we can catch up with friends.
Wow, that's a quick change from a few months ago. And like you
Yeah,
said,
I remember writing this. I remember writing this piece also calling football the great escape. Now I'm going to write something. I need a great escape from football.
You've been overdosed in the past couple of weeks.
I'm not complaining, of course. I'm not complaining. I had good fun.
Yeah, but also that's on the back of the change in government policy because initially they did say that limited number of fans, I think we talked about in the first show, were going to be allowed into the stadiums from this weekend that's just gone. But obviously the numbers of infections has gone. I mean, they're the highest now than they were during the peak. I think there were about 7,000 or 8,000, I think 9,000. They got the figures mixed up yesterday, so they corrected that. But about 9,000 infections a day. So they changed the government policy. And so no football fans into the stadiums now, they're saying for 6 months. Obviously they keep saying they will review the position because all the clubs have made preparations. My own club, Leicester City, had been in touch and advised us of the process for going to the games because there was going to be limited numbers they were going to do a rota basis where you can your name would go into a draw and you'd be selected as to whether you could go. And they'd also made rules about once you're in the stadium, you weren't going to be allowed to sing, you'd have to stick in your own bubble. So it was going to be very different, but at least we could have had the chance of going into the stadiums. But obviously that's been taken away, and so the TV companies have now been forced to show every single game live, so you have back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday. So that will be the case till... Well, like I said, they're saying 6 months, so we'll see what happens if anything changes. I can't see it changing at least till December. We're in October, November. This is when the flu season starts, so it's unfortunate. And but in terms of football, it's only going to increase because, like I said, the Champions League is going to start into this month. Europa League, in which I was so happy with the draw. I think you were happy with the draw as well with Chelsea getting Seville, Rennes and Krasnodar, wherever they're from. I'm sure we'll talk about them. But when I looked at the Leicester City's draw, because I followed them home and away last year when we were in the Champions League, and we had a really good venues to have gone on. I mean, Braga is a beautiful stadium, incredible stadium. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I think the UEFA have actually said that if in your country or your area the local authorities allow fans, then they will allow it. They trialled it in the Super Cup. I think there was about 10,000 on fans in the Super Cup, and that seemed to work. So what you'll see is clubs in England certainly, and Belgium maybe being empty, but if you go to Portugal, if you go to Germany, you'll see fans. So it's going to be a mixed way of watching football, some with fans and others with no fans. So they'll be a little bit different, and we'll have to see if that makes a difference to the games as well, because we know fans do make a difference as a 12th man. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is something I've thought about since we started this new live stream on the football show is I know the huge following European clubs have in India. Do you think with the ISL's brand and image and popularity gaining, that the level of support people have for EPL clubs or European clubs will slightly go down, and people will start supporting ISL clubs as their number one club and stick with that? Do you think that time will come, or is that time? Can you see that starting?
Uh, I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer because I think a lot of us did have our first exposure through Premier League, and uh, that is still undoubtedly the cool thing to do. So you can wear a Liverpool jersey, United jersey, and people acknowledge you, and it's got so much to do with identity than you wearing perhaps a Mumbai City jersey, because not a lot of people will realize what you're wearing. So it's still very early stages to have that kind of an impact where people recognize there is a you know there is a community forming. So, but like if you look at it in a local perspective, especially with the I League, for example, you will see a lot of big fans to Real Kashmir in, say, Kashmir, or like in Aizawl for Aizawl, because they have been pampered with actual football. They've been able to go visit and part of their family tradition to go with family and things like that. So it really depends on particular clubs and particular regions. I'm sure Northeast will talk a lot more about closer connectivity with local clubs, and not being so big a fan of, say, Liverpool and City and Chelsea and all that. But when you ask if it's going to change, I think the community itself is growing. So it's not like the already set fans will now move from supporting Chelsea to supporting Kerala Blasters. Instead, what will happen is that the new football fan will might pick up Kerala Blasters first and not Chelsea, because he or she has exposure to good football right now. There's a lot more of marketing. The I League days, it's cooler, it's more abundantly available on TV, it's produced well. So at least a newer generation of fans might be able to have that option of picking one, or even like at least supporting both really well. Like even, I can pretend to be a big Indian football fan, but like I'm sure I care about Chelsea more than I care about any Indian football club. That's the very honest truth about it. Because like my childhood has been supporting Chelsea. I didn't support any local Indian club. So I think the future is where the change will be, really visible, and you can, provided I League continues, ISL continues this growth, and also incorporate a lot of I League teams, because they bring in a lot of real audience who, pampered with actual match viewing experience and traditions and all that. I think the Kolkata fans moving in are like a big thing. So for ISL, that should definitely help the brand grow a lot more. But this is the future. We've only put the foundation stone. I think it's in the 10-year, 15-year run, if you can continue and sustain this momentum, yes, you might see a person saying, I'm a bigger Mumbai City fan than I'm a Manchester City fan.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. But that's really interesting what you said, that you're a bigger Chelsea fan, and I totally get that as well. But just moving on to some topics that have come out in terms of Indian football. Obviously, the I-League second division kicks off this week. I take it there's been, or will there be any interest in that?
Obviously there's an interest, because now it's no longer a second division. It's called I-League qualifier. So because it's basically a qualification tournament into the I-League. And I think a lot of big money teams are also involved. So Mohammedan is a big team, and they're apparently getting UK investors. You have Bangalore FC, who are a big team. Then you have, ARA, who we've covered in our documentaries and previous episodes and stuff. So there are like big teams involved and big money involved, and very important for Indian football also, because I would say all these teams should be featuring in the I-League. So because they bring in a lot of good infrastructure, good set of fans, good management and all that. So hence there is a battle, at least within the football fraternity. I think everybody will have their eyes fixed. There's also a big COVID challenge. Apparently a few players have turned positive. So you never know how this tournament is you don't want a team suffering. You saw what happened to Napoli versus Juventus,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, there is a risk of something like that happening with the second division because I don't think it's they're being super careful as they are with the ISL and the bubble and all that. So interesting space to watch out for, especially as a news person. I think that's something I'll definitely be focusing on.
Yeah, and if they can get it right, like you said, it'll be a really great achievement. And for the champions moving into the I League, big news in that they'll have an actual chance of winning the title now. They're one of the big guns. East Bengal have been confirmed in the ISL. No big surprise there.
Yeah, I mean, East Bengal has never won the I League, so technically this shouldn't change the possibilities of chance. Another I League club winning the title, but I think both the clubs going, especially Mohan Bagan leaving the I League, so that's like two big football clubs with a lot of money and ability to buy players leaving. That gives a potential for the likes of Gokulam, even Real Kashmir, Chennai City, all of them to Punjab FC. All of them have now like a very decent chance. And again, these are all well managed clubs. We've been very vocal. Gokulam seems to be a very exciting project. Punjab is now under a new management, and they've very keen interest in developing football. Real Kashmir is a dream project. All of us love Real Kashmir. And they've got a good team, good manager. We cannot stop loving the Northeast teams. So we'll always have Tra, Neroka, Aizol, all of them. So yeah, I would really like Mohammedan to come. So then we have also Calcutta representation by another big giant of Indian football. So I League deserves a Kolkata team in some way. So I don't want to be partial because I have close tie-ups with ARAFC and I have good friends there. So obviously it would be nice for Gujarat also to have a football club.
Absolutely, I was going to say, I'm biased in that. It'd be good to get a Gujarat team in one of the top leagues. And, but
in fact, I think any of those teams in qualifiers can actually make a.
I was going to say because Mohammedan's got incredible history there as well. So, and from what you're saying, they've got back good owners that it's a well-run football. So yeah, any of those clubs, I think. Like you said, all of them deserve to be in the I League, but anyone that goes up will add to the quality. And talking about quality again, was it a surprise, Sandesh, as to where he ended up after all the no news during the past few months? Is that a
not really
big signing at 80k?
I mean, it would have been really down to 80k. Saying, okay, we have too many players, so let's not sign somebody. That's the only. I was thinking that's the only reason why they wouldn't want to sign. But like they wanted to make a statement after merging and all. And what better way to make a statement than buying potential Indian captain and perhaps arguably the best Indian defender. So big signing for them. I'm a little afraid for say Sumit Rathi or who's had a very good season last time around, young Indian centre back. So I don't know where he's going to fit in. They've also got Subhashish Bose this summer. So there's a lot of Indian defenders there, a lot of wing backs. So somebody like Su Raj now, will his position be threatened? So a tricky team. There's a lot of talent. I mean, we have under 17 World Cuppers not getting even one match there. So, I mean, I hope they loan out players to the I League, because you don't want to stagnate their growth. But very strong team, and no surprise in Sandesh joining the biggest project out there.
And marquee signing for them in terms of an Indian player, and it's not like you say 80k were desperate for defenders, but he can really benefit that team, and it's good to have him still in Indian football, I suppose, playing for at least another season. But looking forward to the I League. I don't think the dates or the fixtures, as usual, have been publicised yet. I know it's going to be November, December, January. Is that fair for the I League in Goa?
I know the ISL.
ISL.
Yeah, so I think it's starting on November 23, like late November, and it's going to go on to March. That is the schedule isn't out, but they've given the dates. I think November 23 is I think tentative date, because I am also thinking of possibly going to Goa, depending on whether I mean, if they're going to allow journalists or not. But yeah, I think late November is when it's starting. All the teams have started assembling in Goa, though. Most teams have.
I saw the tweet from Mr. Orange Helmet that the Goa squad was leaving for Goa. The Orisha club, Orisha FC club, was leaving for Goa the other day. So they're starting preparations there. So they're starting that bubble regime. It'd be incredible if you are able to go there and see what it's like in the bubble and in the stadium, so that'll be good to see. Have they made many announcements in terms of press and people being allowed into the stadium? So they.
I did ask Marcus. I mean, he's like the Fabrizio of Indian football journalism. So I did ask Marcus whether they're going to allow journalists. So he said they are still considering it. So it's not a done deal yet. Also, perhaps because you can do all these press conferences and everything via Zoom call and anything. So you don't necessarily need journalists out there apart from, say, the commentators and, say, somebody who's writing a press release and all. So I wouldn't be extremely surprised if they don't allow journalists also, but they did for the ISL final. You remember that happened in late March and COVID had already broken out. They played it behind the door. Yeah, but so they did allow for that particular match. So it really, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this can pan out.
That'll be incredible. But what I thought was also, as a build-up to the ISL season, and it's going to be my second as well, and I'm so looking forward to it already, is starting to preview some of the teams and some of the signings they've made. And there's only one place to start, really, and that's with a team from your state.
At home.
The Blasters, and not a very good season last season, but they made a couple of big changes back end of that in getting a new coach and new sporting director. But how have you seen the close season, those signings that they've made, and obviously the big one was the loss of Sandesh, but we know you'll be able to see that shirt forever. That's been saved there as a tribute to him. As a Kerala Blasters supporter, fan, how have you seen the last season with the changes, and how do you preview the coming season as well?
I mean, it's a very cliched saying that change is the only permanent thing. But I think with Kerala Blasters, change is the only permanent thing. Yes. I think every summer is just a new setup, new vision, new ambition, new set of players. So as a journalist, I find it really disappointing that every year is a project restart for them. And
doesn't it feel a bit more permanent this time? I mean, Kibu is a big quick signing, and then
it's still a new signing. It's still a new signing, and it's a big signing because he won with Mohan Bagan last time around. Till then, nobody knew about Kibu. And also, let's be honest, Mohan Bagan were a supremely talented side. They had the best set of players in the I-League, so it was not really surprising that they won. It's not the same with Kerala Blasters. They don't have the best set of players for any I-League team, ISL team, in fact. So how the project Kibu will work with a team that is significantly, say, based on young Indians with a lot of potential but not really proven, is going to be something very interesting. But within Kerala, obviously, especially in the summer, there's a lot of optimism and positivity, and there is hope that the SD is making really good signings. I think general feeling with the foreign signings who've been confirmed are also, somebody coming in from a team like Deportivo. It's not going to be a bad signing at all. So, I mean, I don't know how to position myself in terms of optimism, in terms of, practicality and everything, but there is hope that at least this team will discover an Indian core this season, because they've signed. I mean, both Rahul KP and Sahil have signed long-term contracts. That's new for Indian football to see players sign 5-year deals. So that's a clear vision an statement from the team saying we trust in our youth and we're going to have these two Malayali players guide the Kerala team. Uh, then you have the likes of Nong Damba, a good mixture of young players who can possibly do very interesting things. They've signed Nishu Kumar. Let's not forget that. That's a very
big
good signing.
Yeah.
It's a big signing. I mean, it was done so early that a lot of people have forgotten that they've signed Nishu Kumar. They've got Jesel Carnero, who had a very good season, almost cracked into the Indian team as a left back. So, not necessarily bad. You have the likes of Jackson, who got a lot of matches last time around. He could probably develop into a very good central midfielder. Like I said, there is definitely potential there, but now it's up to the coach and the whole setup to say, okay, we don't mind, say, not really performing in one season as long as we can get them game time and help Sahal discover his best form, best position, goal scoring touch. Say, let Rahul discover his best, Satya Sen, all these young players, and also have a project where at least they go out and attack and have fun and play at least attractive football. I think Kerala fans will be okay if there is some upward trajectory that way. That at least in terms of football, in terms of the core developing and all that. I think it's, let's be very honest. I think expecting a title is really far off, considering how well say Goa, ATK, obviously Bangalore will always be strong. So all these teams are like really building good solid units. So I think title or let's say even qualification to the semi-finals or the playoffs would be a big deal, but I don't fancy Kerala getting to either. So this is a season to consolidate and really develop their young players. And I think look at Odisha for example. Now last year they used the season really well to identify the good young Indians. Now they've backed them up with more Indians to improve competition. I think that's a good route for Kerala Blasters also to take. So I think I'm positioning. I'm just trying to hope that they can emulate what Odisha did last season. And Odisha did play really well. They were in the reckoning for a playoff spot for a long time.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, they did it simply because of lack of squad depth and everything. So if Kerala Blasters can say decode a good style and a project, I think I think that's the honest impression from from a fan perspective.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you say. That I'll be surprised if they get into the playoffs. I think the title's a little bit unrealistic. But some of the positives are that hopefully this is the start of an actual project, because I think Kibu will be a little bit. I know he's had that season at Mohan Bagan, but hopefully he's used to big club atmosphere. Let's face it, the Blasters are a big club. The fan base is huge. So the expectation naturally with that, you have to be able to handle. So if he's handled that at Mohan Bagan, hopefully he'll be able to do that at the Blasters. He's also shown a bit of stubbornness in the sense that Mohan Bagan did have a good start to last season, but he stuck with it. And the management, more importantly, stuck with him and kept faith with him. So hopefully the Blasters will do the same, because I think it will be a transition year if they can keep this project going. But then when you look at the young players that you've got, the potential there, and you mentioned all of them there, with Sahal, Nishu, Jackson, KL, the potential is there to build a good Indian core, young Indian core as well. My only question to you is, who's going to score the goals?
Yeah, well, there is this rumor on Hooper, who's very likely to come to Kerala. So obviously, again, like every other season, I think most teams will be relying on foreigners to score the goals. But I feel the best position for Rahul is not in the wings. I think he's a secondary striker. He's got goals in, unlike say Sahal or a natural winger. He is more of the Sadio Mane mode, where like they're fast, but they like to cut in and score goals. So I think if a good coach realizes this, there is potential. And you also got Nongdamba, who's returning back after a loan spell in Mohun Bagan under Kibu. So I think imagine Nongdamba, Sahal, and Rahul running at. I think that's a good trio to be attacking, and if you add a very experienced foreigner for the finishes, I think Kerala's got something there. It really depends on how Kibu is going to line up. He did play like a 4-3-3 with a sort of an auxiliary forward behind his main forward. So he's a little flexible that way. But again, our entire assumption is based on one season with Mohan Bagan, and that's, I think, unfair to the coach as well, because I mean, a coach is bigger than just 1 year with one club. So let's just wait and see what he has, planned for Kerala Blasters.
And are the Blasters fans known as being patient, can see the big picture, the long-term goal?
I see that. I see that pattern, bro. Surprisingly, I don't have that much patience because I keep thinking, oh God, just win something already, because these fans deserve it. But I see a lot of people, saying in SD we trust, in the sporting director we trust, and in the project we trust, and youth we trust. So definitely, I think the expectations at the beginning of the season is very low. That's always a good thing, because I think a good season of attractive football and a great, development curve for these young Indians will be I think everybody's going to be happy with that season.
That's a positive note to end in, that the patience is there, and an incredible fan base. It's on my bucket list to come and see a game there. I've seen it on video and can't wait to witness it sometime in the future. But that was a good insight into the Blasters.
I'm getting your yellow jersey as well.
I don't know if yellow suits me. I don't look good. I only look good in blue, as you know. But for you, I'll wear the yellow.
There is some blue in the jersey as well. So
I've got a allergy to red and certain colours, but blue I'm okay with. I'll wear the yellow for you quite proudly when I come, because that'll be some experience. But no, that was a really good insight. And it starts our build-up to the ISL, and just talking about the Blasters and the expectations, and they're fair in the sense that the playoffs would be a stretch. The title is definitely a stretch, but looking forward to seeing some of these new young players, see how the coach settles down, see his formation and playing style. So lots to look forward to for Blasters fans, hopefully, in seeing their side being built for the future. But as always, time flies when I speak to you, my friend, and it has flown by actually. I've just seen the time, so it's getting late back home. Hopefully you're going to have a nice Indian meal there and relax. There's no football tonight, so no work for you in that sense.
Oh, there's a lot more of work, I think, because there is still a lot to catch up from this exciting weekend of football. So still wrapping up on those things.
Brilliant. Okay. It's been brilliant as always talking to you. Stay safe, my friend, and enjoy the international break, and we'll catch up very soon, because there's always lots to talk about in European football and definitely Indian football as we build up to ISL season. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. So when is release in the